What if I told you about a place where thousands of brand new EVs lie abandoned? Not one, not two, but literally thousands. The Chinese EV market is a total scam, but not for the reasons you might think. Nearly 90% of the Chinese EV makers are crumbling. Some are already flat out bankrupt, and others are on the fast track to extinction. Cars are literally being dumped in fields, and China doesn't want you to know about it. As a matter of fact, they are even lying about the sales numbers, so no one finds out the real reality of these Chinese brands. And get this, their EVs are exploding. Yeah, you heard that right. You might have heard of a company called BYD, which rivals Tesla in China and is slowly making its way here to the States. Just to give you the startling numbers, there's been a staggering 32% spike in reports of Chinese electric vehicles catching fire. Every single day, an average of 7 EVs are going up in flames. To put that in perspective, over the last 2 years, there were only 86 reported cases of such fires. That's a leap from somewhat concerning to alarmingly frequent, if you ask me. And before you go thinking that this is just a budget car issue, think again. China's own EV juggernaut BYD has had 11 of their cars catch fire between 2020 and 2022. And it's not just them. Li Cars had reported 5 fires. XPeng tallied up 4, and even NIO reported 1. Why is this happening? Are the companies cutting corners in safety measures to survive the fierce price wars? Or is this something more sinister, a byproduct of aggressive competition and plummeting sales? The stats don't lie. Chinese EVs are exploding. No brand, no model, and no price point is safe. Now let's talk about EV graveyards. The recent boom in Chinese electric vehicle or EV manufacturing and sales has garnered much attention globally. However, there appears to be a darker aspect to this rapid growth, and it comes in the form of sprawling EV graveyards. Recent drone footage captured fields filled with abandoned electric cars, including models like Geely, Candy K10, Neta V, and BYD E3. These fields were discovered in one of the districts of Hangzhou, the capital of Zhejiang province in eastern China. The cars appeared new, with untouched plastic seat wraps and undimmed screens, and they were all registered, leading to allegations that Chinese EV makers might be inflating their sales number to claim subsidies from the government. One video caption read, "BYD inventory flooded, 600 cars waiting to be processed," while revealing that the field was over 15,000 square meters in size and classified as commercial business. These EV graveyards are unsettling, similar to what happened with bike-sharing services in China. In 2017, supply vastly outpaced demand, resulting in heaps of surplus bicycles dumped in public spaces. The Atlantic reported on this issue, showing pictures of massive piles of brightly colored bicycles abandoned in large open fields. According to industry data, China had roughly 500 EV manufacturers in 2019, but that number has now dwindled down to around 100. It's a shocking contraction that correlates with evidence suggesting these graveyards are not isolated incidents, but part of a broader issue. The Chinese government had been offering remarkable subsidies of up to 60,000 yuan or $8,400 per vehicle. According to Bloomberg, some automakers exploited these programs, producing ghost cars to falsely claim over 9.3 billion yuan or $1.3 billion in subsidies in 2016 alone. These so-called ghost cars are part of the fleets now found abandoned. Then there's the environmental concern. Abandoned EVs represent not just a business malpractice, but a significant waste of resources. Batteries contain materials like nickel, lithium, and cobalt that could have been recycled. Given that the production of EVs is already energy intense, abandoning them exacerbates the environmental problem. Yet the narrative continues to be distorted. With reports of almost half of China's EV makers being either bankrupt or in financial distress, the government's push for electric vehicles seems to have resulted in a bubble. Companies have allegedly inflated their sales numbers, possibly at the expense of environmental sustainability and business ethics. And while Chinese giants like Tesla and BYD are solidifying their market positions, many smaller competitors are struggling to survive. Tesla, BYD, NIO, XPeng, Geely, and Shuri Automobile, among others, recently decided to call a truce in what has been described as a brutal EV price war in China. So basically, they first kicked out all the smaller companies and are now making a pact just for the sake of it, when it's too late. First, let's get some numbers on the table. Elon Musk's Tesla sold a whopping 1,313,851 EVs in 2022. Close behind is BYD, which clocked in 911,410 BEVs, marking an insane 184% increase in sales. Elon Musk himself said that Tesla's most formidable competition would come from China because they work the hardest and they work the smartest. But the playing field isn't exactly level when you're a startup going against Tesla, a company that enjoys a kind of brand loyalty Apple could only dream of in the smartphone game. And then you have BYD, backed by none other than Warren Buffett. Here's where it gets tricky for startups. Capital. Big companies like Tesla and BYD have money to burn. They can afford R&D, marketing blitzes, and even take hits from those infamous price wars. What do startups have? A dream and a prototype. And let's not forget the big players also have established relationships with suppliers and governments, providing them a smoother runway to launch new vehicles or implement changes. What's the takeaway here? The truce among big automakers in China might sound like a positive move for market stability, but don't be fooled. For startups, this could be akin to Goliath picking up an even bigger stone. They've got their work cut out for them if they're going to survive, let alone thrive in this high-stakes battleground. The secret company behind the EV graveyard. All of the abandoned cars were affiliated with a single car rental company called Microcity. They were supposed to be part of a thriving car-sharing initiative. The finding not only raises eyebrows about the company's practices, but also exposes the darker side of China's green initiatives. Despite Microcity's claim of being an industry leader, the cars lie unused, triggering concern over greenwashing scams. A YouTube channel, Serpensa, recently spotlighted the environmental repercussions of such practices. What's puzzling is that locals were being paid substantial amounts by Microcity to park these unused vehicles on their lands. One villager disclosed receiving an annual sum of over 30,000 yuan, or $4,469, since the previous July for this service. This revelation adds another layer of complexity, pointing towards a calculated move to keep these cars hidden from the public eye. Microcity is just one example in a sea of car-sharing companies that sprang up in China in recent years. Founded in 2013, it had strong backing from Geely, a major automotive company. By 2016, it boasted a fleet of about 11,000 vehicles. However, despite all this, something went awry. Why is nothing being done? Many have questioned why the Chinese government is not taking action. The answer lies partly in Chinese legislative shortcomings. Unlike countries with well-defined bankruptcy laws, China lacks a clear system for selling off assets and recovering funds for investors. Further, the car-sharing concept has led to more traffic congestion, contrary to its initial promise of reducing the number of cars on the road. A futile green revolution? For years, China has been reporting strong EV sales numbers, often outperforming companies like Tesla. But situations like EV graveyards in Hangzhou raise critical questions. Is China's green revolution all fake? What could they gain by lying to us? Would you buy a Chinese EV? I know I certainly won't. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And while you're at it, be sure to like this video and subscribe.